I'm nervous. Actually, I'm scared. A few months ago, I met up with an NGO that invited me to Basra, in southern Iraq, to map depleted uranium that they claimed were making people sick. A few moments ago, my cousin from Baghdad called to tell me not to go, that people were roaming the streets looking for people with names like mine. I was really nervous. That's me. My name is Bilal. This is me a couple of hours before my flight to Istanbul at my parents' home in the States, about to go to my parents' home country, Iraq. These are two identities that have clashed within me almost as often as they do with each other. It started to get strange in between a last-minute haircut and packing when one of my uncles made a surprise visit and gave me the surprise phone number. He said that this is your cousin in Basra. Call him if you need any help. And the strange thing was I didn't know I had any family in Basra. My parents met in Baghdad. So I packed my SafeCast Geiger counters to attempt a depleted uranium map, my SparkFun inventors kits and DIY fuel cells for the fledgling hackerspace in Basra, and I hop on my flight to Istanbul. As soon as I land, my cousin in Baghdad freaks me out. I look like that. But with my friend's support, I make it to the Basra airport, where I see this figure in the center falling from the sky with his arms and wings open. And that's sort of how I feel, plunging headfirst into whatever comes next. I'm picked up by these friendly startup weekend organizers in Basra, and we only see a few trucks with stand-up machine gun beds in the back on the way out of the airport. They tell me not to worry. They say that they're volunteers. Startup Weekend flew me out to be a mentor, but I also came here to work with the new community space science camp and to investigate the issues of depleted uranium left behind from the 1990 and 2003 wars. The Startup Weekend crew takes me out to the zoo and over dinner start to share their frustration with what they feel is racism coming from the north. I start to realize the fear that my family had for me could be seen in the darkness of that misunderstanding. But I start to relax, and I feel validated for taking this step with my eyes shut. The projects at Startup Weekend were inspiring. In a country being torn apart on so many levels, they were still building. A book club, hydroponics, and alternative energy projects. War, glory, and patriotism. I came to Basra terrified of the militias, but I found kind and beautiful people building. This video shows the popular music of Iraq's southern regions celebrating the strength and aggression against the terrorists, whom they call Daesh, and we call the Islamic States. I love watching this guy dance with a machine gun. Everything about this video seems to contradict. The gun and his smile, his moves and his heft, the violence shown and the peaceful atrium that I'm watching it in during a break from the program. Nodas was a mentor at Startup Weekend with me. He's also one of the co-founders of the hackerspace there and a big help during the depleted uranium search. And this is Ali. He's a local activist and another mentor for Startup Weekend. We slowly became great friends over the course of this trip. We started to get to know each other when he hosted me after my hotel booking had ended. When I first went to his house and I saw the Shia symbolism, I was scared, but he said he'd wait till dawn to kill me. Iraqi jokes don't really seem that funny to me. He took me fishing and swimming in Shatt al-Arab, where the Tigris and Euphrates meet, where Saddam's old yacht lay overturned and half submerged, already plundered for their golden faucets. I'm not sure what Ali's religious stances were, but this image made me very happy. It's a Shia prayer stone near a cross on his bookshelf. We went out to the markets and played dominoes and had tea. This is where we saw the internet represented in its full rebellious glory. What's really odd is that Twitter had told me that my birth country decided to bomb ISIS in my parents' country while I was in it, and I had no idea how to feel. Taking a back alley, we came across the old guards of the rebellion. This is the Iraqi worker statue, a figure standing tall commemorating the recent and pretty prosperous, if not terrifying, socialist past. Note the Saddam-like mustache. Strangely positioned, this statue stands just outside the National Democratic Club, a place for scholars and poets to discuss politics and art since 1946. And here's Faleh and Fawzi, artists and members of the club killed for their work. Next, we moved on to the Shanashil district. The houses with wooden balconies are where the Jews used to live when they were here in greater numbers. Ali tells me a story about one of the residents who moved to Israel, renting his flat for 1,000 dinars a month in the 80s and never changing the rent. That means that today he gets what is equal to $1 in the mail every month, which is ridiculously low considering what the rent is like here. Ali is an anti-sectarian activist, so I shouldn't have been too surprised to see him hanging a cross in his car and speaking positively of Jews, even though he was in an Islamic school not too long ago. This is the scene on the way to visit one of the tribes in South Iraq. Waste from the wars and life litter the streets and rivers. During the wars of 1990 and 2003, the U.S. shot 1,400 tons of depleted uranium into the country, creating mounds of scrap tanks for salvage. Ali took me to the tribe's diwan, a small room near the front of their house. We were here for their help and protection, because in Basra there are many people who don't like the research that we were doing, and tribal protection is a big deal. The tribe was extremely helpful in helping us locate areas near their house where destroyed tanks were taken to be salvaged. We went from location to location based on assumptions and stories, hunting for a signal on our Safecast-supplied Geiger counters. One of the sites that we were pointed to is the old airport road, which was never completed. It's now a trash dump. There are dozens of dogs here, maybe 100, and also a family. They have children who are getting sick. Earlier this year, at the peace camp, I heard stories from NGOs about children with birth defects and cancer, possibly from depleted uranium, and that's what first pulled me here. Our Geiger counters measured extremely high radiation levels here. Although we now believe that this is a result of operator error, it didn't matter that day. I thought I had become sterile. I worried about the crew. I worried about the tribe who gave us their protection, and I was wondering who was protecting them. On our way to my family's home, I started feeling sick. I was nervous because my grandpa had siblings in Basra, but nobody had ever told me about them. I was meeting this part of my family for the first time, and I shouldn't have worried. After a lot of hugging and kissing, I noticed something odd. That tree in the background shows that my mom's family is connected to the family of the Prophet. I'm Ahl al-Bayt. It turns out that my mom was raised Shia. Those pictures that used to scare me are now a part of me. Now it makes sense. The irrational fear of my Sunni family in Baghdad about the militias in the south, and why my family ignores this part of us. Now the third reason I came to Basra was for this crew. Noras helped us investigate the depleted uranium and is one of the lead organizers of the Basra hackerspace team. His uncle was a professional map maker and helped us create maps of where depleted uranium shelling had happened, but also happens to be an awesome Iraqi CNC artist. They're cutting an image of a tomato because the tomato represents diversity to people in Basra. The ability to be a little bit of everything. A tomato can fit in a salad or a stew, can be sliced on its own and be eaten like a fruit. I had found a team within the hackerspace crew that was interested in helping to continue to map areas in Iraq, following up on our work where they suspect there is depleted uranium. Ali was also going to continue this research for his undergraduate thesis till his school refused it as an option. There's a lot of work to do, but finding do-it-yourself communities growing in Basra gives me hope. My trip here has shown me that we can be both technical and creative, Shia and Sunni, communist and Democrat, and that we can grow together. We need to kun tamata like our friends in Basra. So let's get together and make an awesome tomato salad.